In recent years, fewer black students have been getting accepted into the city's most prestigious exam school, Boston Latin. As one step toward making the school more inclusive, Mayor Walsh is expanding the free program for exam preparation. To tell us what's planned is our guest from the Boston Public Schools, the Assistant Superintendent of Opportunity and Achievement Gaps, Colin Rose. Thank you very much for being with us, Colin.
Thank you for having me.
First of all, talk about the importance of preparation for students, at least what you've learned from what these students do when they're spending all that time getting prepared.
So really the program, the Exam School Initiative, prepares students in the summer for the ISE test, which is an independent school test that actually is used for admittance to our three exam schools, O'Brien, Boston Latin Academy, and Boston Latin School. So it's important because that test is so high stakes to get into these schools. While they're really just doing some test prep around that test, making sure that they're prepared. So students that get that preparation obviously have a leg up to students that do not.
What about even before the test, what happens when a family knows this is coming and they create a whole culture of achievement? I mean, doesn't that make a difference too?
Absolutely. I mean, I think information and access quite often go hand in hand. Families that know about programs that prepare their students for entry into exam schools often, again, have a leg up and another lane to make sure that their students are as prepared as they can to be admitted to these schools. So outreach is important and preparation is important, especially when we're looking at test scores as a way to admit students into schools.
What about the one pattern that's been such a long pattern that it's hard to change maybe? There are these feeder schools that tend to get more students into Latin and other exam schools than most other schools in the city. So how do you offset that to some degree?
Right now we have a working group around looking at the actual admissions process to these exam schools. But again, if we're using test scores heavily, then we need to make sure that we're giving equal opportunity to all of our students in all of our neighborhoods to be able to be prepared for these tests. And so I think that's what this initiative does, the opening up of 300 more seats to this initiative that Mayor Walsh has done.
What's it going to be like once a student gets into this program? Does this mean spending time after school or on weekends or some of the summer?
It's an intensive 2-week program in the summer, in August. Really, again, looking at test prep. And then up until the test in November, they take in 6th grade, some select Saturdays to continue to prepare the students for that test particularly.
I know there's a lot of dispute about whether prep makes you smarter, but getting used to taking a test, that's pretty, I mean, just knowing the speed at which you have to answer questions, which ones you put off and which ones you come back to.
There's a reason why, test prep is a multi-million-dollar business. People prepare for the SATs, the LSATs. And so, yeah, there's something to it, which also calls into question the way that we admit students and how heavily we should be relying on these tests. But if we are going to be relying on these tests, we need to be able to prepare all of our students for these tests in the name of equity.
So right now, I guess the main step to inform students is that I guess you're sending out letters.
So normally what happened, and which is why a lot of different schools are higher represented and some schools lower represented, is that we were just sending out the top 750 students who scored on the Terra Nova test, which is a test that elementary school students take every year. And those letters just got distributed to families. So families in the know knew what the program was about, quickly responded, and seats were filled on a first-come, first-served basis. So the first 450 seats got filled, and those were the students represented. So there really were no guardrails for who was coming into the program. Opening up these 300 additional seats, those seats are going to be targeted directly towards schools who have been underrepresented in the past in the program. So at the school level, we are going to be reaching out to schools, and a lot of those schools were in the neighborhoods of Roxbury, Dorchester, and Mattapan, who were really underrepresented in that.
Thank you very much for being with us.
No problem.
From the Boston Public Schools, Colin Rose.